Good afternoon. Welcome to the class this afternoon at H&H, where we're talking online sales and proofing. I've got everyone muted right now, so I'm going to unmute you very quickly here. So in case there's any questions that come up right at the beginning. Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Give me a shout back here. Okay. All right, well, we'll get started. What I'm going to do real quickly is I just muted everyone but myself to eliminate any of the background noise. And Dick, I'm going to unmute you because you have a question. Go ahead, Dick.
I'm sorry, I didn't really have a question. It was just I was indicating that I could hear you.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, this afternoon we're going to be talking about online proofing and sales. And H&A, there are lots of different systems out there, and what we decided to build was very specific to get started. And so this may be the right tool for you, or it may not be the right tool for you. And our aim today is to go over two things. First, to give you some fundamentals of online sales that we're hearing from folks on what works and what doesn't work. And the second part is to show you what H&H does, but we also work with some other companies like LabPrints, like EventPix, like seeyourphotos.net. Some of our customers use collages.net and then pull their orders in through rows. So there's lots of companies out there, and if we're learning one thing, it's that there are more and more people who are, as the online proofing and sales business grows, there are more niches that are happening. And so there probably won't be any one service that takes care of everybody that comes out of it. There will be some different platforms that, depending on your needs, you'll probably choose. So we're going to go over first the fundamentals of online proofing and sales. The first thing we want to talk about very candidly is how not to use online sales. And the first way to not use it is to replace a face-to-face sale. You are at your best and have the most control over a sale and the most influence over your customer when you are face-to-face with them, whether that is a selling with projection, or it's a prepay program, or you're selling just in a sales room face-to-face. That is always going to be the best way to maximize your sales. So we encourage you, please do not use online sales to replace it. You will see your sales go down. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice. If the league or the organization you're working with demands online sales, of course, it can be a tool. But just know that your sales will be lower if you cannot influence that sale. So replacing a prepay sale is another one with prepay flyers for sports, or if you're doing a church directory and you're face-to-face and they have prepay packages, there is nothing like finishing a shoot and going home with the cash or the checks right there in your hand. You don't have to wonder, are people really going to show up on my website to buy things? The third way is keeping images online for too long. What happens is when you post an event and it's on for too long of a period of time, then your customer expects that the images will always be there. And they actually get frustrated when you take them down. But if you tell them up front, these are going to be on for 1 week or 3 weeks or whatever you decide, and for weddings they may need to be up a little longer. But by limiting the number of the amount of time that images are online, then you're going to be much better off and much more likely to sell something because your customer has a sense of urgency to purchase. The other way not to use online sales and online proofing is to offer the same products that you do initially. Some people would even say, put up different images. If you have some outtakes that you want to put online that you didn't show initially, is another great way of using it. But offering a different set of products will help your customer feel like they're having another opportunity to get something else they might like. the other part that's really important, we think, is that you're not training your customer to next year wait for the online sale. If you offer the exact same images, the exact same products, and the exact same prices online, then you could be educating your customer to not buy from you when you're face-to-face or in a prepay program, but train them for next year to wait for it to go online. That's okay, I'll just wait and buy it online, and they never get around to doing it. So we think these are some really important principles to keep in mind, unless you have to. If your customer is dictating you have to go online, that's a different story. But if you have a choice, we definitely don't recommend replacing the face-to-face sale, the prepay sale, keeping images on too long, or offering the same products as the initial sale. We believe some of the strongest ways of using online sales is as a second sale opportunity. Now, this is a great way to use online sales, where you've already done the face-to-face sale or a prepay, and you're putting things online now for another opportunity. We recommend waiting a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks after the initial sale, so that, frankly, a paycheck cycle has turned and money spent is money forgotten. And now they have an opportunity to buy something else. Another great way of using online sales is to reach new customers. If you're photographing a wedding or an event that you didn't have the opportunity to sell to some of the people who are there, but you could get them your marketing information. Let's say for a wedding, using skinny minis for the engagement pictures with different images on each card that have your online sales information on the back. That's a great way to reach family members that you wouldn't be able to sell to that might buy something from you. Selling new images online. Maybe you edited out some of the images because you just couldn't show all of the images initially, but adding some other images and say, hey, here's some outtakes that I included that you might be interested in. And of course, selling new products. And we will be releasing very shortly a number of new products that aren't just prints. And we'll show you what we're doing today, but what's coming is the ability to buy jewelry online and keychains and magnets and all those other things that you might not want to offer in your initial sale, but make great second sale opportunities. We also think for a lot of this second sale opportunity, they're usually small orders. And so we think it's a great way to reduce labor in the studio, because if you have to handle each one of these small reorders, then you're probably not going to make an awful lot of money with, I would like one 8x10 please, and please ship it to this address. Or I'd like 2 5x7s and ship it to this address. You feel like you have to do it because customers are ordering it, but you're probably not making very much money. And so we'll show you what we're doing with our system, and it's meant to be a hands-off system. So when someone submits an order, it gets shipped directly to your customer from H&H with your return address. So we're invisible behind the scenes, but for those types of orders, it's a really great way to reduce your studio labor. So a second sale opportunity, reaching new customers that you couldn't sell to initially or family members out of town, selling new images, selling products, different products the second time, and a way of reducing studio labor on orders that are very small from many, many different customers. So we think those are the ways, kind of the do's and taboos of online sales and marketing. And we're constantly listening and learning, so if you have different experiences on this, we hope you'll share those with us, because that will really help us continue to tune as we listen. We want to tell the truth about how this stuff really works, so we think that's really important. So I'm going to share my desktop now. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the different ways that you can brand HHImageHost for your studio. When we set out to do this, one of the models that we looked at early on was Pictage, because we heard of a number of people who were using Pictage and were happy with the service, the fact that they could upload images and basically forget about it, and their customers could order and it would go direct to their customers. But they felt kind of badly about the fact that they had to give up their branding. You work very hard to build your brand and market your business. And we felt like it wouldn't be the right thing to do to have it come to H&H Color Lab. It should still look like your studio. So here's an example of Scott Hain Photography that they chose the color scheme, and actually they're probably going to be updating this shortly. Here's another version for Joe Craig, and it looks completely different. Now if you'll notice, and this looks like Joe's website. This is Joe's website here. And here's another one for Hob Photography. If you notice, overall, there is the same elements. There's a border around the outside, a background color, a studio logo, 3 images, a little description of how to, kind of an introductory message, and then finding an event. But it looks different. And it also has your studio contact information. So some people are using this as their website, where they actually buy the URL and then they forward the URL to HHImageHost. That's honestly not what we intended to do when we created HHImageHost, but frankly I can't argue with it. If you don't have a website, this is a pretty inexpensive way to go. It's not very feature-rich, but it works. The other thing that we do is we have, like under Scott Hain, we have a portfolio. And so there is, and actually this event has expired, but it will walk you through images from a portfolio. So it does have that feature for HHImageHost that works very well to complement your studio. So what we're going to look at is Imagine Studios. Imagine Studios is the name that H&H created that lets you know this can be your studio. Imagine this is your studio, and so that's our name. So let's look at the portfolio under Imagine Studios, and this could be your studio. And what we always do before someone looks at images is we gather the email address. And in this case, the event has no password, but you can set passwords on different levels. We'll talk about that in a little while. So this could be, in this case, it's some of the art images at Imagine Studios. But this can be an assortment of maybe your senior work, family work, whatever you want to show. But this can be, if someone just wants to see some examples of your work, they can come here and see that. So if this is an extension of your website, that's maybe a feature you might be interested in. You don't have to set that up, but it's there as an option. So when a customer comes to the site, typically they'll come to your website first, and then they'll click on a link to view online galleries or whatever verbiage you want to use, and then that link would come to HHImageHost. If you look at the URL at the top, it is always going to be http://yourstudioname.hhimaghost.com, and that is really the only branding that has HHImageHost on it, is that URL, but it still has your name up front, up first. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to view all events. You can search by event name or event date, but we're going to view all events that are available. So we're going to go to the Connie and Bentley event of Imagine Studios. And again, it'll ask for my email address, and it is saving these. And we'll talk about passwords in a little while again. We don't right now have a report for you to download the email addresses or to automatically send emails. Those are the things that are coming, but we are saving those right now. And so that'll be coming, that you can say send out an email every 2 weeks or every 3 days or whatever you want to remind people to view their online event, or have the ability to download those email addresses so you can market to those folks who have shown that they're interested in your images. So this is how your customer will see HHImageHost. This is one of the 2 galleries, and I'll show you the other gallery later. So there's the thumbnails of the images down below, and then you can see them up top. You can view them in brown tone. You can view them in black and white. And then there are the products that you choose to sell. In this case, there are just 2 print sizes. There's a desk portrait and a small wall portrait. You can type in the name, and I'll show you a little later how to do that. But those are named by how you want to describe your products. Then we also have the different retouching services. And so, again, you can name the retouching service whatever you want. Bentley's named this the Voclane retouching service, and you can set your own prices. So what we'll do is we're going to order a desk portrait, and we're going to add it to the cart. And we're going to, this one's very nice. We're going to do a wall portrait of this image. And then we're going to go to checkout, or we'll look at our cart first. So here is what I have in my cart so far. And I can remove images, I can edit, I can keep shopping. I'm going to go back and keep shopping. The other things that you can do is I can share this album, and this is something that you as the studio can turn on or off. I recommend keeping it on because it helps your customer market for you to other people. So I might send this to Amy, my wife. And then I can send a message. And then I say who it's from. And then I'm going to say send me a copy. And what it's going to do is it's going to email Amy and copy me a link to this image. It does not send the image out. It sends a link to it, so it drives the traffic back to this site for people to buy. And what it assumes is that if it's password protected, that anyone who logs into the site also has permission to give someone else permission on that same level. And so if you send it to Mom, then Mom has permission to send it on to Grandma and say, hey, check out Johnny's image, and Grandma has the permission to see Johnny's images. The other thing you can do is you can identify these as favorites. Now we tried to do something a little different on this. We actually created the system so that different people's favorites could be viewed by everyone who logs into the event. And we think this is kind of interesting because then we can see what other people like about that event. And you only see images that you have permission to see. So if there's sub-passwords or smaller group passwords or individual passwords, you'll only see images that you have permission to see. But I can maybe see, oh my gosh, that is a great image right here. And so I'm going to then be able to go and say I like that image and maybe purchase from it. But for now, I've gotten all the images I want to purchase, and I'm going to go to checkout. So it confirms what I'm ordering. And then I say continue. And this is, of course, like any other online e-commerce system where I fill out my billing information, payment information, shipping information. And of course, I can copy the billing from the shipping. And in this case, it must be a larger print. It didn't say what size it was, but it says the minimum option is a $10 FedEx ground. The least expensive shipping we have is $5.50, and that is U.S. mail, and that's 11 by 14s and smaller if they're not too thick to go into the envelopes that we have. And your customer pays for that. And then I fill out this information and say checkout. At that point, the order is automatically submitted to H&H, and if you want us to, there's an option when you set up the event that we send you an email to say someone's purchased that image. And the order comes directly to H&H. We produce it, ship it to the end customer, and when we invoice the order, we finalize the credit card, and then it's shipped. So that is the customer end of HHImageHost and how that works. And so what I'm going to do is come back and give me 1 second here. Okay, and now I'm going to unmute everyone. And see if there's So are there any questions so far? We're going to look at the back office tools, but does anyone have any questions? right. Well, I'll remute everyone. If you have another question, go ahead and raise your hand or send me a message in the chat box. Okay. Well, we'll continue on, and we'll look now at the back office tools. Okay. So what we're going to do is now we're going to go to a different URL that is just www.HHImageHost.com. This is where you or your studio staff would log in, and you have your own username and password. The first thing that you see is the control panel. On this screen, this gives you an overview of all the different things that are going on. How many images are currently stored on the system? How many images are in active events? Any announcements that are in there? Events that are expiring, and then top events, just giving you a report of what people are interested in seeing. The center section, because this is a test event set up by H&H, of course, there's no sales on it, but that shows you a graph of sales of your earnings, and you can click in for some detail and view previous weeks and everything else. So looking across the top, we're going to start on the far right side for settings. Settings are where you set the branding for your site. So here's the URL. And, of course, we had Imagine Studios back here that we set up the branding for. So let's see what's on the back office side of this to show how that works. There are 3 images you upload. There's 3 images and 1 logo you upload. Here's the photographer, studio logo or banner, and that goes at the top of the screen, right up here. Then there's the left, middle, and right side images, which are the square images on the site. The next thing we allow you to define is the font types, colors, and links, colors like that. And so you can set, using the color picker, any color that you want to. And what we recommend is probably for your studio, you have the RGB values or the hex values for your brand's color scheme. They're probably on your website already or your marketing material. Just have those ready, and you can enter those right here on the site. Here's the hex and then the RGB values for each one of those. And so what we're doing is these letters correspond with the different letters we show on the site on the right side. And this is just kind of a sample mock-up on the right side here. And then you have your welcome message. And you can use basic HTML in here to define your fonts, bolding, line breaks, things like that. And then, of course, the next section is your background color, your banner color, highlight color, all of those different pieces that you might want to use to continue to skin your website. You can also choose textures for the outside border of outside the image area. And then you also choose your portfolio event. This is the event that you're going to allow people to see without logging in, without a password. So we've defined the settings. The next thing that you would do is you'd go to price lists. This is where you set up what products you want to offer and how much you want to charge for them. Here's a number of price lists we've already set up, but let's create a new one. So I'm going to call this price list Spring 2010. The first question it asks is, what color flavors would you like to offer? It default checks all of them, but let's say you don't want to offer sepia, you just uncheck the box. And it says, what retouching do you want to offer? We're going to offer, for this job, we're going to offer Glamour Retouch. And maybe my name for this is Hollywood. And it shows what the H&H cost is going to be. And since we're looking at cost now, let's talk about costs for the overall system. This is kind of taking a side road, but it probably is appropriate for right now. The system costs $35 a month. That is for unlimited images and unlimited events. And the only other costs you have with the system, you don't have to pay anything to upload any images. You don't pay ahead of time. The only time you pay is if you sell something. Then we also collect the cost of the product, which is standard digital pricing, and 10% of your retail. And that 10% of the retail includes the 3% credit card charge. And that's used for future development of the site, future features, all those sorts of things. So let's for this charge, let's say $15 for this. So your cost that it shows right here is both the $10 for the Glamour retouch and the $1.50 for that 10%. So there's no more hidden fees. That's it. What your profit is what you'll actually put in your pocket at the end of the month if someone buys this from you. So we're going to save that. And then we're going to go down here to paper type, and we offer all the different paper types in HHImageHost that H&H has to offer. So we're going to say Fuji Pearl here, and we're going to make this an 8x10, and we're going to call this a high gloss desk print. And we're not going to do any coding, no texturing, but we are going to put this on artboard. And so it's already calculated the price of the print and the artboard. And that's a Fuji Pearl print, of course. And we're going to charge, let's say, $25 for that. And so again, it calculates your cost and what your profit will be anytime someone buys it. And you set up your price list just once, and then any event you set up can always use that price list. So you may have 2 price lists, you may have 50 price lists. It's totally up to you. And we're going to make this an 11 by, well, let's make this a little larger. Call this a 16 by 20. We're going to luster coat that. Stand out black, and let's put a texture on it as well. We're going to call this an elite wall print, and we're going to charge $200 for that. Now, what we've seen so far is that the kinds of things people are buying online is, chances are, they're going to buy the elite wall print from you at the studio. You may choose to put it on here, but most of the time people are buying smaller items online. They're buying 8x10s, they're buying 5x7s, and we hope when we add the magnets and the jewelry and all those different items that they'll buy those smaller items as well. Not that jewelry could easily add up to this price as well. But it's typically not larger prints. I'm not going to say don't offer it, but just know that people are usually buying smaller things online. It's a different type of purchase than otherwise. And I'm going to add one more print. I'm going to add 2 5x7s. And I'll put that on there for $15. And that's probably very low compared to what you would charge, but I'm in the lab business, so we have to keep our prices low. Okay, so now we're done, and we're going to review our pricing to make sure this is the price list that we need to have. So this is a summary of everything we're going to offer. We're offering retouching, we're offering a high gloss desk print, an elite wall print, and a 5x7 sharing print. And so that's what will be available for this price list. And have our spring, since it's further down, Springs 2010, and our list of price lists that are available. So we've gone over the settings on how to set up the color scheme and the logos of your HHImageHost system to make it look like you. We've covered price lists. We have reports, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We have events, and then so this is where you set up and define how you want an event to show online. An event is any group of images you put online that are all grouped together. So let's go into the Connie and Bentley event that we looked at earlier. This is all the information that's been set up at this event, so let's edit it. So the first thing is the URL name. You can set that up to be anything, but remember that you cannot put any spaces in here because the web doesn't like spaces in URLs. You set the date of the event for the search. It shows you the event URL, so you can copy this or quickly jump to it to see what it looks like. The event type, this will help with some of the sorting, and it will show guests that come to HHImageHost from your studio what different categories. So if there's a Smith event, they know that it was a Smith wedding event, not a Smith family event. And so that'll help them find it. And then an event name, and that's what would show up on the home page of the event. Location and state we put in there. Again, if you're traveling around quite a bit and let's say you're following the Little League tour of the finals, and there might be locations in different parts of the country in different states. Well, this will help customers find the right event if there's multiple Little League events you're doing. Event publish date, and of course that's the date that the event goes public, that people can get in and see it. Event expiration is up to 60 days, but you can extend it also for an additional 30 days for $5. What price list you'd like to use, and we're going to switch to the Spring 2010 price list. And Bentley has his event set up that anytime someone orders, that he'll get an email at digitalguide@hhcolorlab.com. This event doesn't have a password, but you can set a password for the entire event, and so that you need that password to see anything. For events that are pretty public, and I include weddings for that unless the bride and groom don't want it to be, the fewer passwords you can use, the more easy it will be for customers to view it, and that's really important. It sounds like a really good idea to password protect everything, but it really makes it more difficult for customers to get in and view the event and purchase things if they have to use passwords. So passwords are a great tool, but use them sparingly, because the more complicated they are, the more difficult it will be for customers to buy things. We also allow you to control the message that you'd like to say when a customer orders something. In this case, it's just thank you for your order. Your order will be produced and shipped to you within the next week. But you can say anything you'd like. We also allow you to upload a PDF or JPEG that is printed and put in the box with your order. Let's say you want to offer a coupon for anybody who buys something online to come to your studio to give them a discount on a sitting fee. Or just a marketing piece or a thank you letter, whatever you want to. Each event you can upload a separate document that gets printed and shipped with the order when it's shipped to your end customer. The event cover image is the image that shows on the title page. And let's go back to Imagine Studios, and I'll show you where that is. So here's a Connie and Bentley event, and we've already logged in here, so it won't show us that one. But on the title page, let's see. How can we go back to that? Let's go into a different event here that we haven't logged into. Let's go into Portfolio. Okay, that one we logged into also. I'm sorry. Well, normally there's that login page, and I can't show it to you right now. Let's see if Ted has one. And Ted didn't choose to set one up, so it just shows a white space there. Normally there would be an event image here. So that's where you set that up. You choose which file you'd like to show as kind of the cover of the event or the gallery. This is internal notes. These will never be shown to your customer, but if you want to set yourself as a reminder that on the 10th, remember to extend the event and change the price list to a higher price list. You can put those notes here. This is where you set your image sharing, whether you want customers to be able to email someone a link to the event. It defaults to on, but you can turn it off if you don't want people to share it. And these are the two different gallery styles. This is gallery 1, where you can see, let me scroll this down a little, where you can see that it's thumbnails over the whole center space, and then you click on one of those images and the order window pops up. The other version of that is what Bentley used for he and Connie's images, and that's where the thumbnails are at the bottom and the larger image is up top, whatever image is active that you've clicked on. Then you can choose what you want the gallery background to be, white, black, gray, or brown. Most people are choosing white or black, honestly, and it depends on your brand for your studio. And then there's the event greeting. This would be the greeting at the beginning on the home page. And let's go back to Hob Photography. They said, welcome to the Daily Family Album. Enter your email address and password. And so that's their greeting for that event. So this is the setup for an event. The next thing you do after setting up those settings, and this already has images in it, but you would upload photos. You can upload photos a few different ways. You can upload just one big group of images and have that password on the main event control whether people can see them, or you can upload different groups of photos, each with different passwords. That might be useful if you're doing school photography and you want to have Mrs. Jones' class have a different password than Mr. Smith's class. Again, remember that if you use these kinds of passwords, you have to have a way of communicating them to your end customer. The other thing that you can do down at the bottom is you can upload groups. So if you have a wedding already organized into folders where you have the engagement pictures, getting ready, the wedding ceremony, the reception, if all those are organized, you can upload the parent folder to all those images, and it will organize the groups automatically for you based on the folder structure. And so we have a little question mark here that shows you some more of the information. So read this carefully if you're interested in doing this. Remember that it can only do 2 levels. It can't do multiple levels. So you can do the main event, which is the Smith-Jones wedding, and then under that, the groups of images for engagement, getting ready, ceremony, and reception. And the way that shows up is when you go into the event, this just has one group inside of it called wedding, but those different categories would show up here. That might be an advantage if there's a lot of different images. It makes it not so much to load the first time, so you may choose to divide that up into groups. And again, you can set passwords. We also have the capability to upload a password file with images. And where that comes in handy is where you want individual images to have their own password. This would be particularly helpful for a school where every child has to have their own password. This is the most extreme version of password protection. It works very, very well, but I would recommend that you be in communication with us if you're going to use this, because we have some automated ways of showing passwords on the packaging of school packages if you're going to use that feature. Otherwise, expect a whole lot of phone calls at the studio to tell people what their passwords are. That can get very confusing if there's not an automated way of communicating that. Another thing that people do here is they tell the student to use their student ID, but be in communication with us because this is a much more sophisticated way of managing passwords. It can be very powerful, very helpful, but it's much more sophisticated. So we've covered events. The next tool that you have is for orders. And in this case, there's no orders to view. We should probably order some things from this event so that we can show you this. But this is a tool that your studio will use if there's a question about an order, because you can see the images they ordered from. You can see the last 4 digits of their credit card. You can see the status of the order at the lab. And you can also, if your customer says, let's say they call the studio and say the order was damaged, you can generate a remake with 2 clicks from this system that automatically submits it to H&H, automatically resends it to your customer at a no charge. And so that's a tool we tried to make very fast and simple, again, to reduce labor at the studio. So we also have reports where we have different summary reports that you can run on orders and on event viewing and all that sort of thing. And this will be growing quite a bit as time goes on, as we hear more on what kinds of reports you'd like to see. So going back to the dashboard, this is where everything starts from. This is where your different categories of settings for HHImageHost, and then you have your different branding that you can do across HHImageHost. So let's go back now and see if there's any questions. Okay, and I've got some questions in chat out there. From Brenda, do you have a limit to the number of images or events that can be online at one time? No, there's no limit. You can have as many images and as many events posted for that $35 as you'd like. The second question is, do you have a minimum number of months? You can participate on a month-to-month basis. This is meant to be used as an ongoing system with your website. This is really not the appropriate system if you're looking to set up an event this month and then not have something next month. You can use it for that, but the subscription is meant to be like a magazine subscription, not one you start and stop every month, but you sign up for and use month after month. We think there's a good case for using the portfolio to expand your website and let folks know that you have more capabilities. I think it's a heck of a way of also using the site to post some of the scenic images that you do, to help you market that you are an artist as well as a business person, and sell products from those stock images. So when you think of it in a broader term as than just what is the event this month, or do I have an event this month, I think there's some pretty creative ways of using HHImageHost that can pay for itself. So I'm going to unmute everybody. And let me look here. Okay, Dick has a question about packages. Can you set up packages at this point, or multi-pose packages? At this point, everything is a la carte. There isn't a way to set up packages. We have in the works where we've set up, I believe it's 20 standard print packages ranging from 1.5 units all the way up to 6 units that we will be releasing probably next month sometime. But being able to custom set up your own packages, it's something that we've kicked around and tried to figure out a simple way to do it, but haven't figured it out yet. So stay tuned on packages and multi-pose packages, which is even more complex but really interesting, because over the next year we'll be building that out. Yes, $5 to extend the time for an event to be available. This is a one-time charge of, well, $5 per month at this point is what we're doing. I think there's a model, and we haven't quite tackled it yet. So if you have some ideas on this, let us know. But I think there's an opportunity to come up with a charge that if you're going to extend it, for 6 months, to come up with a flat charge for that, not sit there and say $5, $5, $5 for each extension. So any other questions? I'm going to, you can type that in the chat box, and I'll also unmute everyone. So does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Well, please be in touch with us. Oh, hang on a second. From Pam, will customers be able to see products offered by H&H such as jewelry? Yes, that's what we're in the process of adding now. In fact, I was hoping to show that to you today, and there was one bug that was preventing, in our final testing, preventing me being able to show that to you. But yes, that should be coming literally in the next week. We should have jewelry on there, dog tags, keychains, some die sub products, and that will be growing more and more as time goes on. And we're really excited about that because it is different than what you might offer in the first sale. Does the $35 taken from our open account, does the profit get put into our open account? Okay, yes, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, and I'm going to mute everyone again to get rid of some feedback. Is the $35, this is a separate account from your main H&H account. And so all of the transactions, to keep this simple and clear, one of the complaints that we heard of some of the other online systems is they could never figure out where all this money was going. And so what we did is we decided to make this a separate account from your main H&H account, that all the money would be transacted. So when you sell something online and we transact the credit card, you accumulate a credit. At the end of the month, we settle up. And we say, okay, $35 a month comes out of your sales, or if you haven't had any sales, comes off your credit card that's on file. And then any of the order charges come out of what you've accumulated, and we send you a check at the end of the month for all the dollars that you collect. And one of the points to keep in mind is because we're a Missouri corporation, we only charge sales tax for Missouri and Kansas purchasers. So if you're in Texas and you use HHImageHost, then the way that we have set this up for the IRS is to say, we are the people, HHImageHost is the company that is selling the image. We're paying you a 90% commission. So that way we can keep it simple. So when you get that check at the end of the month, you should not have to worry about sales tax. Now, sales tax with online sales is changing all the time, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it, but that's the way it's set up right now. We'll be able to see image numbers in the favorite groups. That's a good question, Hal. Let me check on that, and we'll get back to you on that. When you set up when people report in their favorites, is there a way to see image numbers? Or what I think ultimately we'll need is a report that can say, let me download a report of all the favorites from this event. Great question from Pam. What happens to the email addresses collected? Does H&H market or sell them? Absolutely not, Pam. Those email addresses are meant for your use. The only time I could see us using those in the future is if you ask us to, if we market to those folks on your behalf. So you can assure your customers that the email addresses are kept private, that only your studio will get those. We have no intention of doing anything. That doesn't seem right. And so, Bentley, what was the other question? Forwarded. Do you have an example of a sports team using this system? Yes, absolutely, Daniel. We think this is a great way to do add-on sales for sports, especially with some of the new products that we're adding. Doing your initial prepay sale and then inserting a flyer in that says, hey, make sure to go online to see some great new products is a great way of adding on some keychains and buttons and statuettes and all those kinds of things that folks might want to use online. The other way to use HHImageHost with sports is if you're required to photograph some games anyway and give those images up, well, why not pass out some cards and let people know they can go online to purchase images? You probably won't sell a ton of the game images, but at least the league will feel like they're being serviced at a higher level. Now, one of the ways, very clever ways that I've heard people use HHImageHost at like a fundraising ball event or a sports league is to have people prepay you to take their picture. So let's say you say it'll cost you $20 for me to photograph you at this event. Then you can go online and purchase whatever product you want to. And then you can afford to offer products at a lower, more reasonable price where people are likely to pay. And honestly, you honestly don't care if they show up to look at them and buy anything or not because they've already paid you to take their picture. And the phrasing that I've heard someone use at a sports event is to, while you're doing the team and individual, you say there's going to be a game after we take the team and individual sports, And to make sure, I'm going to have my photographers out there, but if you want us to photograph your child, then you pay us $20. Here's a card with the URL for this event, and then you go online and purchase whatever you'd like. You'll find the prices to be very reasonable, and then you'll find you'll be able to go online and buy whatever you want to. But that way you're getting paid up front for your time, and you know who's really interested in buying because they've qualified themselves by giving you money up front. Daniel, did I answer your question? Or if you have further questions on that, definitely enter those in. In the meantime, Angela has a question. Can the images from the site be linked on apps such as Facebook and MySpace? In so much as you can email a link to someone and then post that link, yes. We've been looking at a Share Me on Facebook and MySpace, and there's some interesting questions there that we've kind of been kicking back and forth. So if you have some thoughts on that, let us know. It's at the very least, we think if we turn on that capability, then we'll need to give you the choice on whether you want that to be turned on or not. So Angela, I'd be interested in talking to you later and getting some more information on how you'd like to see that work and how you'd use it. Hal has an option for cropping the image. Hal, I'm glad you asked that because I missed that when I was talking about the new products that were coming online. Yes, the new products made us build, because you're buying things like jewelry and keychains and things like that, the customer would have to crop them. So yes, we added the ability to crop for the end customer to crop the image, and then we crop it. We print the product, of course, like they crop it. So what they see is what they'll get. And I think you'll be pleased. We worked really hard on that system to make it really simple. But I look forward to showing that to you very soon. So any other questions? There's been a lot of good questions this afternoon. Okay, well, we will, hang on a second. Will there be an option for that pricing? Oh, for digital pricing, so you mean school sport and event pricing on HHImageHost, Hal, if I'm reading you correctly? Probably not in the foreseeable future. Everything will be standard digital pricing, and the reason for that is that these are all small orders. We don't get the benefit of getting 200 kids with their photographs that we can all put in envelopes and handle all at once. And that's really that volume part of the business. That's why there's those lower prices. So in the foreseeable future, I can't figure out a way that we could get those economies of scale while receiving one order at a time from the different kids. So for the foreseeable future, it'll probably be digital professional pricing. Now that said, things like keychains are shared pricing, whether it's in professional or it's in school sports or events. So the add-on products will probably be the same pricing you're used to for school sports and events. And Pam has a question asking, will customers be able to deliver to a different address? Pam, that's a really good idea. I honestly had not thought about that before, but I've seen that. Actually, let's look at that for a second, because that may already be possible. Let's switch over, and I'm going to share my desktop again, and let's look at that together. So we're going to go over to Imagine Studios, and we're going to go to our cart. And so I should be able to, right here, if I have my billing information, I should be able to ship anywhere I want to. So we should be able to handle that scenario already. Yeah, I think we're handled there unless there's something I'm missing. Any other questions before we wrap up? Well, I really appreciate everyone coming to the class and sitting in. We're listening while we're building, so let us know what you see that we can do to continue to make the system better. Stay tuned next week. You'll see a lot new products launching, and those will just automatically be available. And one of the things I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you how you can sign up for HHImageHost. When you go to HHImageHost.com, and I'm going to log out here so you can see. If you go to Getting Started on HHImageHost, you can watch the last class that we did that has a lot of the same information. You can open your HHImageHost account, and then you just fill out this information, and your account will be set up immediately. And again, it's a separate account from what you use at H&H Color Lab, but that keeps the accounting simple so you know where the money's going. So that URL is www.hhimagehost.com. So thank you very much, and please let us know what further questions you have after you sleep on it and as you look around, and we'll be in touch. We appreciate you. We appreciate you coming to the class, and we never want to miss the opportunity to say thank you for your business. We really appreciate your relationship and you trusting us to do work for you. So thank you very much.